real draft season
No, we got the 2025 mock drafts
shut
now.
the hell up. Real draft season is over. It's the real
Jover.
thing.
It is Jover.
It is the real thing. The NFL draft has
Denny
come
Hamlin,
and gone. Can you shut
best
the
NASCAR driver.
do you have Tourette's? Just let me get my opening monologue. Okay? You're watching a master at work. Don't interrupt.
I was watching a master at work at Dover, bro.
So here we go. The real draft has finished. All 7 rounds have come and gone. Detroit.
I need you to angle this because I need to see some of this shit here, bud.
Detroit has set the record for most people attending the NFL draft. 750,000 or whatever that is. So we'll talk about the whole first round of the NFL draft, hand out some draft grades as well from anything. So, Wayne, what was your overall thoughts about old Thursday draft day?
Okay. Wow. How's your day going so far?
Good. Usually I ask that question.
Yeah, I know. You didn't ask, so.
I don't really care today. For being completely honest.
All right.
I care about your opinion on the draft.
Yeah, I don't, though. It's not a great way to greet me, but okay.
Yeah, what's your opinion on the draft?
Really deep draft class this year. A pretty deep draft class in a lot of positions. I mean, there are some good picks in day 3 and day 2. Obviously.
There's always good picks everywhere. I mean, anybody that gets drafted is very good.
No, but I mean, this draft class was really actually stacked when you, like...
So, of course, Caleb Williams went number 1 to Chicago. Then it was Jayden Daniels, Drake May. The draft didn't really do anything to about
pick 5.
About pick 7. Joe Alt was expected to go at pick 5. Neighbors.
I saw this thing. You know how it's always option A, option B, and it shows your O-line, your quarterback, and throwing downfield. It was always that thing with Joe Burrow throwing to Jabbar, but he was getting sacked. And it was option A was good O-line, Justin Herbert, and was throwing to Quentin Johnston, and it was him dropping it. And the second one was no O-line, Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnston, and him getting sacked. It was like the exact same predicament that the Chargers were in coming into this draft.
The Bengals.
But
that worked out for the Bengals last time that was said. So, the draft didn't really get going. Titans took J.C. Latham. Besides from that, Atlanta took Penix. Romo Dunze went to the Bears. J.J. McCarthy went to the Vikings. The Raiders took Brock Bowers. First defensive player at pick 15. Which
Latu.
I'll give myself a pat in the back with Latu. I said no defensive players in the top 12. Didn't. I said 20. I
had Latu going at pick 8 to the Falcons.
I had 22 QBs, running back, or QB, wide receiver, offensive lineman going.
Did you hit it?
22 exactly. The Vikings took Dallas Turner. Jared Verse went to the Rams. Eagles took Quinion Mitchell and then Cooper DeJean.
Speaking of the Rams, Braden Frisk.
He went to Fisk.
Him and Jared Verse is going to be a really good combo there in LA.
I don't know if they can get to know each other as good though.
Do they have good chemistry by chance?
Brian Thomas to the Jags. Terry Arnold to the Lions. Xavier Worthy went to the Chiefs. Ravens got Nate Wiggins. The Niners got Ricky Purcell, and then the Panthers get Xavier Legette. So
I think the best part of my game is the deep ball.
Let's start off at the top of the draft. Not much more to be said about Caleb Williams. Don't
ever do that again, please. You were more zesty than Caleb Williams when he did that. See Caleb Williams, stop.
It's actually pretty smart of Caleb Williams. That's going to actually catch on for the Chicago Bears that they can finally have a hand signal.
Everyone's going to be zesty now in Chicago.
Washington took Jayden Daniels.
What sound you go make? Pew, pew.
Washington took Jayden Daniels, no questions there. There's a lot of questions about New England trading out of their pick. They decided we're going to stick and pick with Drake May.
They decided that we are not the Bill Belichick ran Patriots and we will make a pick.
Yeah, so
that was good and not like a center out of where'd Cole Strange go to college?
I don't know. Who cares?
Chattanooga.
Yeah,
something like that.
So Drake May to number 3. Cardinals took Marvin Harrison, Joe Alt. Let's just talk about the first 5 picks, and then we'll get into it more and more. What's your favorite pick of the first 5?
I probably say Marvin Harrison Jr.
I
really like that pick with the Cardinals.
Arizona, good fit.
Already have your quarterback. You just drafted O-line last year. Your defense was struggling, but when Marvin Harrison Jr. was there, I mean, you kind of got to take that pick. And I feel like that'll actually help out the Cardinals a really decent amount because they were struggling with weapons just this past year. I feel like this is a great addition for the Cardinals.
I'm between 2. If I had to rank my picks, based on how much I like them, I think I'd go Drake May number 1 to New England, then Joe Alt, then Caleb Williams, then Marvin Harrison, then Jaden Daniels. I'm not a huge Jaden Daniels guy. I'm not as high as anybody else.
I feel like he'll fit in there with Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I had him as QB4 in this draft cycle. Not a huge Jaden Daniels guy, just because one-year guys that didn't really produce all that much the year prior that just shot up draft boards. Not usually my type of guys compared to Caleb Williams, who was there for a long time. Yeah, there's outliers.
Well,
Drake May did it for 2 years, and Jaden Daniels in a Brian Kelly offense in LSU.
Caleb Williams did it for like
Can I
3
speak
years.
for 30 seconds?
No.
Without you shutting up?
You've been yibber-yabbered for about 6 minutes.
But if you're going to enter and say something, at least make it useful. Okay? You say stupid shit all the time.
Caleb Williams did it for 3 years.
Okay, it doesn't matter, though.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
But Jaden Daniels in the LSU offense, he's kind of throwing to open guys. Not throwing guys open. Didn't really wasn't asked to throw over the middle. It was just to the outside of the sticks and down the field, not really over the middle. So we'll get into that.
Outside of the sticks.
The sticks, the hash marks outside the sticks. Football terms, you wouldn't get it.
Just say outside the numbers.
Yeah, but
outside the sticks is okay.
But yeah, so I'm not too high on him. We'll get to that later as we get into July and August as we really start to break down these teams. But I think Joe Alt, if I said it before, if there's anybody in this class that I think has almost a zero bust potential, it's Joe Alt. I think he's just going to be there for 13 years, get 9 Pro Bowls, not going to say a word. Like he's just going to be there.
He's going to be like Tyron Smith almost.
He's just
there.
He's just going to be there. He's never going to complain. You're never going to hear about him, and he's just going to produce. And I think that's huge for the Chargers and Joe Alt. And they start them getting themselves a weapon, according to Jim Harbaugh, when Joe Alt. And look, it's no secret.
Ladd McConkey.
It's no secret. They took Ladd McConkey. Did they?
They did.
Really?
Yeah, that's who the Chargers drafted. Because the Bills got Keon Coleman, and then the Chargers, I think, stayed at their pick or won a pick down. No, I think they stayed at their pick and got Ladd McConkey.
So, with Joe Alt, I think Jim Harbaugh, anywhere he's gone, it's no secret, Michigan, San Francisco, even at Stanford, he wants to build the running game first and then let everything else go out
into play
as it goes. But as it stands right now with how the Chargers are building their team, I really like it. And they've set themselves up for a pretty successful year, number 1. So that's the top 5. There's not much to talk about in that top 5. We'll move on to the next 5. Malik Neighbors to the Giants, J.C. Latham to Tennessee, Michael Penix to the Falcons, Romo Dunze to the Bears, and J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings. Of course, there's the elephant in the room, but let's talk first off about Malik Neighbors able to fit in with the New York Giants. He doesn't sound too thrilled to play for the New York Giants.
It reminds me of another LSU wide receiver that went... No, I'm kidding.
Is Malik Neighbors in for a 1,000-yard year in year 1?
No, I feel like he will get close to 1,000. I feel like if he does break 1,000 yards, it's not going to be by much. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like 1,050. It's not going to be a lot. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't break 1,000 and he gets anywhere from 850 to 1,000. I feel like he'll fit in right there. It's your first year. Daniel Jones is your quarterback, but he's still an NFL quarterback.
Is he though?
That's like Kyle McCord. The guy is a 4-star or whatever he was out of St. Joseph's Prep. So the guy still is a. He's made it this far. He's not that bad of a quarterback. You just got to give him a little bit of time to
develop it.
Well, no. Daniel Jones has been in the league for 4 years, 5 years,
6 or something.
Yeah. Not develop, but
be comfortable.
Chemistry,
comfortable.
Yeah,
Daniel Jones. I don't think he's ever too great, but at the end of the day, you're dealt with what you're dealt. I mean, Daniel Jones is your quarterback.
Everybody's going to say the contract is bad, but he didn't make up the contract. They could have let him go. It was the front office who gave him that deal, and he went with it.
And saying the contract's bad doesn't do anything for the New York Giants. I mean, they still got to go out and win. Yeah. I understand the contract's bad. Okay, figure it out. And that's something they're going to have to do.
Restructure the contract.
It starts with Malik Neighbors, and the Giants got some nice pieces down the line. Tennessee took J.C. Latham. They made enough.
Like when they picked Peter Skronson. Is that how you pronounce it? Last year.
They made enough moves in free agency with Tony Pollard and with Calvin Ridley that they can afford to take now an offensive lineman and set Will Levis up, who was hurt a couple of years. And then we'll get into the big one. Michael Penix Jr. going to the Atlanta Falcons.
Ian Rappaport, 5 minutes before the pick, the Falcons are thinking of taking a quarterback here. Michael Penix.
Listen, of course,
it's a bad pick.
Nobody has said it's a good pick, and I would
see the GM like to the owner. Yeah. He's like, hey, we need this, and the owner's like,
yeah. Everybody knows it's a bad pick. I'm not going to come out here and try to convince you that it's a bad pick. That I have some claim that nobody's ever said. Of course. Here's the thing with Michael Penix Jr. He is the most pro-ready quarterback potentially in this class.
But
that I think in year one could be a top 20 guy, but will stay in that range for a long time. Like, I don't think he has the upside of Caleb Williams, Shane Daniels.
He starts out hot, and then he just stays like that. It's going to be a mediocre quarter. It's going to be like almost Kirk Cousins. It's going to be, he will get you this many wins every year, almost guaranteed. He will not take you over the top.
And
his trend of being good will just sputter out, and it'll stay the same until he gets old.
And the blueprint for teams that have done this in the past, Kansas City with Mahomes, Rodgers, and Jordan Love in Green Bay, they've always wanted young, raw quarterbacks that have high upside. Michael Penix has none of those. He's not raw. He's pretty polished as a quarterback. Like, he's not going to be like, man, we could fix him up and he could be great one day. He's not young.
That's like a Joe Milton type guy.
He's not young. He's 24 years old.
Is he going to be 25 before the season starts?
No, he'll be 24.
Okay.
And then in the last one, what did I say is the last one? Something.
Sorry, the short-term memory loss is coming in.
He doesn't have the potential to reach the higher level. So I still don't know what they're doing. This has, I saw people comparing it to Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. First off, that makes no sense because Aaron Rodgers was old. There was questions.
Aaron Rodgers was going to leave in like the next year or two.
There was no questions with Kirk Cousins because if there were, he wouldn't have been signed a month and a half ago. So this is
$180 million, $100 million guaranteed.
This does not just set the Falcons back; it sets the whole team. Not just like the team sets him back with the 8th overall pick, not picking anybody. The whole team, because Kirk Cousins is thinking, hey, you signed me, you don't believe in me? The whole team's saying,
their morale kind of like got shot down a little bit after that draft pick.
The whole team is saying, you signed Kirk Cousins, do we not believe in him now? Like, I wanted to come play with him.
Are we supposed to play bad now?
So Atlanta's also not in a spot where they can afford to give the 8th overall pick, and they get no production out of it this year.
Yeah.
Of course, Kirk can get hurt, and Penix could come in, and it looks like a good pick. But I remember this, again, with Jordan Love and with Aaron Rodgers. If you recall, the Packers had made back-to-back NFC Championship games, and they took Jordan Love. And at the time, I said Jordan Love is fine if you just take a look at the pick. But if you look at the outside surroundings, Green Bay wasn't good enough to be able to not have a first-round pick and allow everybody else to have first-round picks.
And then they got they got rid of Devontae Adams and half of their offense.
That's the same thing with Michael Penix, but on steroids. Yeah. That Atlanta has not been in the playoffs in so long.
Yeah.
At least Green Bay could say, okay, we don't have a first-round pick back in 2020, and we have them in the future. We just made it to the NFC title game. The Falcons went 7-10 last year. Look, it looks good on paper with Kirk Cousins coming in, but you don't have enough.
The actual production is what you need
to give away the 8th overall pick. And what's the best case scenario? And the Falcons GM said, if you believe in a quarterback, you got to go get him. No, you don't. No.
I feel like so they knew they were going to take Michael Penix. Why wouldn't you at least try to find a trade?
They could trade down.
I don't even think they searched for a trade. I'm pretty sure they just took the pick and went with it instead of even trying to reach out to teams. And hey, do you want this 8th overall pick?
And I said this to you on draft night.
So you could get Michael Penix and then even get more value in the later rounds or next year and it's like...
I said this to you on draft night. Even if I didn't know the order of the draft and you told me Michael Penix goes pick 8, I'm like, wow, pick 8's crazy.
No, the only way you can think about that is every quarterback gets taken in the first 5, and this team is scrambling for their quarterback, and they didn't get a trade out, and they're like, okay, well, we have to take Michael Penix. And even then, it's like half unbelievable. You're like,
So
At 8?
let's try for a second to reason with the Falcons. It's tough. But let's...
No, I was seeing some arguments on TikTok of that make like great points about it, but at the same time, there's still like that thing. It's like the Kirk Cousins. I get he's aging, but they signed him to 4 years.
They signed him a month ago.
Yeah,
I mean, so if we want to reason with Atlanta,
reasoning.
Okay, let's reason towards him and say, okay, we saw Kirk off an AC or torn Achilles,
and he's
has
the possibility to get hurt again this year.
He's an older player, has a possibility to get hurt. If you want a guy in the long-term future...
What O-line is better, the Vikings or the
Vikings?
Okay. Yeah. So you look at it now, you have a worse O-line now for Kirk as well.
But that makes no sense because his Achilles injury was non-contact. So
yeah, it was. He was getting sacked.
And he scrambled out and tore his Achilles. So it's...
Not contact. It was... I see what you mean.
But say you want a QB of the future...
trade up.
You want a young player. You want a young player that has a potential
like J.J. McCarthy.
For J.J. McCarthy. That a guy that's not going to be good right now. Right? That at pick number at the 8th overall pick at 21 years old will move up to pick 25 or will move up to 25 years old when he starts. That if Michael Penix, if Kirk plays out his contract, Penix is 28 years old starting. And
that's not even going to say he's going to be good. Like, I get that you get mentored after 4 years, but like Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix really do not have a similar play style. They have half of a play style, and then the other half is like Michael Penix has the speed. He's young.
Michael Penix is not fast.
No, but he will be able to run out of the pocket. Kirk, it's kind of...
It's close between Kirk and Penix. It actually is.
Yeah.
But like, we use this develop a quarterback, okay? Mm-hmm. If the quarterback can't play, it doesn't matter if Jesus Christ is developing him. He can't play, he can't play. I'm not saying Penix can't. And there's also too much development. Mm-hmm. Like, 1 to 2 years is good. 4 years to develop? 4 years is like, how long does this guy got to develop? That's another thing to say, how you don't feel confident in the player if he needs 4 years to develop. Mm-hmm. So it makes no sense on any level. The Falcons, the only thing possible I could see this is if Kirk Cousins tampered bad. Yeah. He tampered bad, and Atlanta knows something we don't, and there could be a big suspension coming. That's the only reason, the absolutely only reason I could justify this pick at all is that if there's a huge suspension coming, a 10, 12, 14-game suspension for Kirk if he was tampering bad, which I don't expect, but yeah, it's wild what Atlanta took with Michael Penix Jr. For the rest of this episode, we are going to dive into the picks some more. But instead of just taking a look at the first round, we're going to take a peek. Excuse me, folks. We're going to take a peek at the overall team by team. So we're not just looking at one pick. We're looking at the whole entire draft.
Do you want to go by division?
No. All right. We're looking at the whole entire draft. All the picks. And we're going to give a grade, same number grade or letter grade like you would in school. Again, this is all of the picks. We'll get into it, talk a little bit more as we go on. But let's start off with the first team alphabetically, the Arizona Cardinals, who have had a lot of draft capital. They had the Paris Johnson trade that got them capital where the Texans took Will Anderson. And they had 2 first-round picks. At the top, they took Marvin Harrison, probably as a case to be the best player in the draft, if not Caleb Williams. They took Darius Robinson, who's a high upside, tested freaky well at the Combine. Took Xavier Thomas, 5th round out of Clemson. Some other players in here, Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. They've built a team.
I can't even get this shit.
They've built a solid enough team now. This is a good enough draft. It doesn't scream great for me. I'm going to give it a B+, just because anytime you could walk away with the top 2 player in the draft at pick 4 for Arizona, it's a B+. Very, very solid draft, and I think Atlanta's in a spot with Arizona's in a spot with Kyler Murray that if they could contend next year, they could win 8-9 games next year.
Yes, definitely. For me, I also have the Cardinals at a B+ with their selections. That's weird to think about. They were definitely thinking the Texans were going to be mediocre this year at best, and then you got to go get pick 27, and you're like,
If you go back, if we remember when he did mock drafts before the season started, Atlanta was Arizona was projected 1 and 2 because Texans were expected to be bad, but they made do with what happened. Atlanta up next. Listen, this entire draft confuses me. Of course, we spent minutes on Penix. Rook Aworo.
That was a reach. I felt like that was a reach for him.
I feel like I don't really know who that is.
Yeah.
Okay. I try to come out here and sound like an expert. I really don't know who that is.
I don't think a lot of people know who that is.
Braylon Trice is a good player out of Washington. I mean, they've done enough. Listen, these draft day grades mean absolutely nothing. They mean nothing until the players play. It doesn't matter. I mean, no GM's like, man, we lost that draft when it ends because you don't see what the players go. And
the Falcons kind of.
It's hard to see the Falcons' direction, but maybe they have a huge plan. Maybe they have a plan in store. I don't see it though. It's a D- for me. It's very, very harsh, and there's not much else to say with Atlanta.
Yeah, for me also, Atlanta is getting a D-.
Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens, took Nate Wiggins, high upside type of player. Needs to put on some weight, of course, but he's speedy, fast, and the Ravens did need that help on the edge.
Sweeney
or help
calling
on the boundary.
Saying, hey, draft this guy.
I think they took a lot of good players down the board.
Dude, TJ Tampa in the 4th round, that was such a steal.
Adisa Isaac.
He was predicted to go 1st round last year.
This is a good draft. This is a typical Ravens draft. Nothing to write home about. They didn't really get any game changers.
But they get
this is a B.
pieces who are actually pretty good.
This is a B, of course. The defense is already great. I would have liked a receiver a little bit early.
Yeah.
I really do like to pick a Tez Walker, though, at North Carolina. I think he's a guy that in the 4th round is going to be, by the end of the season, wide receiver 2 in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I think he could be a guy that is making big catches in big moments.
Zay Flowers.
No. But, yeah, I like that the Ravens are surrounding weapons with Lamar, as they did last year. It's a B draft. It's nobody's, high-fiving each other. We killed that draft. Nobody's like, oh, man, we lost. It's just, it's good.
For me, the Ravens also get a B.
Pretty even so far. Buffalo Bills, listen, I understand people were complaining that they traded with the Chiefs. But at the end of the day, if there's a trade offer you like, you can't just say, oh, we can't make it because it's the Chiefs. You put yourselves first. I mean, if you're the Buffalo Bills GM, if you're Brandon Beane, I think his name is, you care about the Buffalo Bills more than the Chiefs, right? You can't sit there, oh, this is a good trade with us, but this is the Chiefs. So they move back, take Keon Coleman, 33rd overall pick, probably assumes the number 1 wide receiver role in due time. I think it's great that they were able to trade back twice.
Keon Coleman does not have that drama that Diggs brought in. You see him after he was like, hey, can I get a snack?
He's playing himself on Madden.
Yeah.
And all throughout the draft, a couple solid picks again. I think it is, again.
Dog, how do you even get a name that? Where did you even?
Cedric Van Pran Granger, yep.
Where do you even?
How do you zoom in?
I don't think you can.
Buffalo.
Maybe you can. Use 2 hands, 2 fingers, and actually try to zoom in. Maybe. Yeah, there you go.
Buffalo for me gets a B-, just because they had so many holes to fill and they weren't able to do it. It's hard when you have that many holes. Buffalo.
For me, the Bills get a C+.
C+. You're a little bit harsh on them. Is there a reason why?
Just kind of feel like trading back was a little bit of a downer, but at the same time, they would have had to trade up.
I mean, if they still got the player they wanted.
You get Keon Coleman at pick 33 with some more value in the future. Yeah. Not really, but it helps them out a little.
Carolina, they had the 32nd overall pick.
What do you think the best part of your game is?
I think it's a deep ball. Really, any way I can get the ball in my hands. Xavier Legette is a Panther. I think it's a little bit of a reach. He probably, I would have said mid-second round pick for him.
I didn't think he was good.
They made solid enough picks, and in I
also felt like that was kind of a reach, a little bit. Brooks, I mean, he literally just got hurt. He tore an ACL last year.
In the second round is pretty wild, especially early in the second round. Jatavion Sanders, good piece at tight end. It's clear in the picks, Carolina wants to invest in Bryce Young, which they should, number 1 overall pick in the draft. And I think, for me, it's a C+ draft. It's a good philosophy. We want to get Bryce Young weapons, blah 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 blah. Is it a good execution? I don't know about the picks. The hands they were dealt, I think they did a fine job. It's not like they lost. They should definitely improve next year. C plus.
For me, they are getting a B minus.
Okay. Move on to the Chicago Bears. Top 2 picks. They had 1 and 9. They took Torrey Taylor out of Iowa, the punter, and they didn't have many picks in this draft.
You're not going to be needing to punt.
Yeah.
Okay, bud. You're a rookie quarterback. We get you're like a generational talent, but like, chill out there, bud.
Look,
it doesn't matter how good you are. If a defense has a good scheme, you
listen. Caleb Williams was the best player in the class. Even though it was the right pick, it's still an A+ pick. I mean, it's just everybody knew it was going to be Caleb Williams. Doesn't mean
if you have the
you get
first
a worse
overall
grade.
pick and you get the best player available, you're gonna get an A+. I mean, the only way they could have screwed this up was by taking Joe Alt at pick 1 or something.
Okay. And then they took Romo Dunze at pick 9 to get a wide receiver 3. It is pretty clear they are all out on the offensive side of the ball. Didn't invest much in the defense, just took Austin Booker out of Kansas in the beginning of the 5th round. This is an A draft just because it's not like, man, they finessed them or they got this guy at a spot. Like they did what they needed to do. And it's an A draft. It's very good. Chicago might have the brightest future in the league, if not like Kansas City, of course. But like
Lions have a pretty young team on half of everything, and they've already almost made it to the NFC Championship. Jared Goff is aging, but like at the same time, you look at half of their roster, it's like under 26.
I meant
under
future.
25.
I meant future by like haven't done anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Like future, like of course Kansas
the
City.
Chiefs haven't done. I was
Kansas
about to
City,
say, what do you?
Kansas City has the best future, but like we don't
They've
think of
also
them.
already
We
won.
don't think of them as a future team. We think the Texans are a future team, the Bears, blah blah blah.
The Packers.
Like the Bills have a good future because they have Josh Allen, but yeah.
Packers also. I feel like they're
Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. They needed offensive line help bad. They got it with Amarius Mims, 6'8", 340 pounds. Probably the biggest player in the draft. I'm interested. Don't they have Trent Brown?
Yeah, that's so. When they picked that, I was talking to my
Orlando
health
Brown.
teacher, who is a Bengals fan. I was talking to him about. I was like, "How do you think?"
Are they
going
gonna
to
bump him into guard?
Yeah, and he goes, "We just picked up Trent Brown in free agency, and you have Orlando Brown Jr."
You'll probably bump him into guard at least.
I feel like he kind of just sits behind a year. Yeah, they'll definitely bump him to guard, but at the same time, when one of them leaves, I think he's getting immediately thrown back into that tackle spot.
Yeah. I really do like this draft.
And I kind of like that.
I really do like this draft. It's just full of players that I like. Jermaine Burton was one of my guys. Chris Jenkins was great at Michigan.
Was Matt Lee also one of your guys?
No, I like Derek All out of Iowa. And then Josh Newton out of TCU had a lot of second-round hype last offseason. This is a good draft. And I'm not seeing a lot of people say, wow, this is the draft for the Bengals, right? But I think Jermaine Burton in that offense, if he can operate as wide receiver 3, is going to excel. I'm giving the Bengals.
If T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd leaves one of you, it's probably going to be.
I think if this was Troy Fatanu at 18, it'd be an A+.
Yeah.
It's Amarius Mims, a raw player, which is fine.
Yeah, he's played like 8 games, the least by like any.
Yeah, but he's 6'8", 340.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
That's basically
you can't teach 6'8", 340.
Yeah. Cincy, I would give them an A. It's a really good draft, full of a lot of good players that I like. A draft for the Bengals.
Yeah, for me, the Bengals are getting an A-. So.
Okay. Cleveland Browns did not have a first-round pick because they traded for a rapist a couple years ago, and they now pick number 51 took Michael Hall, who's going to be a good player, to pair him up with Myles Garrett. Not really pair him up. It's not like Michael Hall and Myles Garrett are the duo.
Michael Hall, that's got to be like.
But Zach Zinter, if he gets healthier, will be a good pick. They had a lot of good players down the board. It doesn't move me. And it's tough because did they get as good as players as the Bengals? No, but the cards they were dealt, they did enough. It's a B- with what they were given.
Yes. I also have the Browns at a B-.
Two mediocre minds think alike.
Does that make like one good mind or no?
No. It's not two wrongs make a right.
Oh.
Let's move on.
So it's just mediocre at best.
Yeah.
They got Tyler Guyton.
The Dallas Cowboys took Tyler Guyton.
They traded with
pissing me off.
They traded with the Lions, right?
Yeah, they traded back to get Guyton, who I think it's a good pick for them. I don't know how to freaking work this.
All right, just continue yapping.
Yeah, Tyler Guyton early on. That's a good enough pick for them. Down the line, they took.
Go up to go down, because I guess you did something. Hold on. Ready? Up to go down, down.
Yeah,
down. Yeah, down to go up. All right, there you go.
They didn't do much for me in this draft.
2 fingers on to go down and up.
They didn't do much. I'm gonna give the Cowboys a C minus. It's just there's nothing really there. Guyton's fine, but besides from that, I don't think they really have too many impact players down the line.
Yeah, I have him at a C plus. I mean, you drafted an O-tackle replacement because Tyron Smith leaves in the offseason. There really isn't much that you could improve on. Mm-hmm. You just suck in the playoffs.
The Denver Broncos are up next. This is not going to be a good grade. I'm going to give them a D. I just don't like the picks. Troy Franklin was maybe the steal of the draft in the 4th round.
Yeah, that was actually to pair him with Bo Nix as well.
I understand, pairing him with Bo Nix, but that can't save the draft. Denver. Audric Estime in the 5th round for Notre Dame. I mean,
is Denver?
I thought Denver had 2 good enough backs.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
With Javonte Williams, and Jaleel McLaughlin was actually really good for the Broncos last year in a smaller role. Yeah, it's a D for me. Mm-hmm. I think it's such a reach on Bo Nix. When you could have definitely traded down, I think. At 12, Bo Nix is probably, if not Penix, he's the 31st worst pick of the draft. So I don't like this draft at all from the Broncos. I like Troy Franklin, of course, but Bo Nix just puts a huge stain on it that I can't get overcome.
Pause.
Go on, sir.
All right. I forgot to say this earlier. I was going to say this with the Bengals pick, but for me, the Bears are also an A+, kind of a given. For me, Denver's also a D. Bo Nix is...
Yeah, I don't know about Bo Nix.
Yikes.
I don't know about all that.
If he becomes good, I mean, that's going to be like a great thing for them, but if he becomes bad, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised. I feel like it's, you picked him, everybody thinks he's going to be bad. But if he does good, you're going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, it's like a very basic pick. But I also felt like you're number 12, and the Raiders were behind you. Yeah. And it came out that the Raiders weren't even going to try and get him. Yeah. Why didn't you just trade down?
I look at it as you need to have an awful QB. Mm-hmm. I think if the Raiders are not taking Bo Nix,
Zach Wilson,
I would much rather prefer Gardner Minshew than Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you go down
Gardner
the list...
Minshew already has his NFL-ready experience. Yeah, he's like, 27, 28?
I think Bo Nix's ceiling is about Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Like, he's not all that. And if you go down, if it's not the Raiders taking him, okay? Seattle ain't going to do it. Pittsburgh. Like, there's no team that's...
You could trade
back. They
could
get him in the second round.
Value.
They get him in the second round. So I thought it was
a very big
wildly high. Like, I'd understand if it was J.J. McCarthy and we started to see a run on QBs and, like, Penix and Nix were behind them and, like, okay, we feel there's a drop-off here. Penix was the last one.
Right? So it's Penix, and then 2 picks later is McCarthy, and then
Nix
2
was
picks
the last
later.
one. Yeah, Nix was the last one. So he was the only one left. And I don't think anybody was
I don't think people are going to pick Spencer Rattler in the first round.
And I don't think Bo Nix is a can't-miss prospect that, we missed on Bo Nix.
No.
Darn. Like, he's
wow, I really wanted that guy in that 2024 NFL draft.
He's going to be in a QB battle with Zach Wilson. Like, that will be a battle in camp, which says all you need to know about Bo Nix.
I think Zach Wilson will definitely win it, though, because he's got his NFL... He has NFL experience.
It's not anything good.
No, but, I mean, like, that was with, like, Gardner Minshew if the Raiders, God forbid, decided to choose him. Gardner Minshew's got more of the NFL experience, and he's already going to win the job.
Gardner Minshew's way better than Zach Wilson.
I know. But also, I feel like Denver, they should have traded back for more value and still get the guy they wanted.
They could have traded away at pick 12 and got a first-round pick next year. It's a weird situation with Denver.
Ew!
And let's move on to the Lions. Lions are drafting real well. I mean, they're drafting really well. Of course,
they get Terry Arnold, and then they're pairing him with another Missouri corner, and they already have Carlton Davis.
Yeah, the big knock on the Lions was the secondary.
Who's their other safety? Brian Branch. No, not C.J. Who's their other safety?
Very young team. You just said Carlton Davis.
No, at corner. I said Brian Branch, and then there's C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but he just left to the Eagles. So who's their other safety?
I don't know. I don't care.
Shit, who is it?
Kirby Jones.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna. Oh, the ACL snatcher.
knee snatcher. Kirby Joseph.
Lions are gonna crush the NFC North this year. 15-2.
I'm
kidding.
Detroit. They've of course addressed their needs and they've gone out and gotten them. Terry Arnold at 24 is a great pick.
Yes.
The rest of the draft, I mean, they got positions in need. This is a B+ draft for me. It's a good draft.
Guard. Hold on.
Terry Arnold at 24,
Yeah,
who played phenomenal last year for Alabama. He had a real good case at CB1 and went CB2.
Because Quinion Mitchell went 2 picks ahead.
So
22 he went.
At pick 24, I thought that was a great pick.
Yes.
And Detroit, it's something when you have a young player, like Minnesota has Justin Jefferson, young player, that can elevate a team, okay? But when you have 10 to 15 young players like the Lions,
multiple,
that's 10 times the elevation. Like, everybody gets better. We saw it with the OKC Thunder in the NBA this year. It's one thing to have, like, Dallas has one young player, really, in Luka, and he gets better. But when you have Shea and Chet and Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey and 5 young players that all get better at the same time.
Josh Giddey knows a lot about young.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. They were...
for me, the Lions also get an A.
You said that.
No, I never said anything. I literally said they got Terry Arnold and they got the Missouri cornerback, and that was it. And then you started ranting. You started waffling, mate.
Green Bay in this draft.
That's best corner in the league in 10 years.
Yeah, Kalen King was supposed to be a first-round pick. Played
Kalen King, fall-off needs to be studied,
so bad. 7th-round pick is enough. Is really a good pick.
I feel like he just had that really bad Senior Bowl, and God. His draft stock went down so much after that Senior Bowl.
There's no downside. I mean, there's no downside at taking Kalen King. Jordan Morgan.
There really is only upside, yeah.
He's a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I mean, you're not like looking for a home run hitter.
We're gonna have to cut them. We're gonna have to. Maybe we only do 16 teams. How many are we in?
About 15.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, you have to leave by like 5:15 to get back for practice.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with a C+ for the Packers. Some questionable moves like Marshawn Lloyd in the 3rd round, a running back at a USC.
Yeah, hold on, go back. What were some more there?
I don't really understand that. Jordan Morgan, probably a little bit of a reach.
I felt like
they
they really should have addressed corner, but yes.
Edgerrin Cooper, I think, is a really good pick though, at A&M.
For me, the Packers also get a C. I feel like they should have attacked corner more, if anything. I get they're getting O-line. I mean, you look at it like, what happened with Rodgers? I mean, it took too long for him, and then you only made it so far, and then he leaves. I get what they're doing here. They're not trying to have the same mistake happen twice. But I feel like you definitely should have addressed a corner or safety, especially with... So, Xavier McKinney... No, he went to the Packers. Yeah, they should have got another corner.
So, the Houston Texans don't have any picks now, which is fine because they have one of the brightest futures in the league.
Because they're selling out for the future like the Rams. No, not really.
They took Kamari Lassiter in the 2nd round, solid enough player. And then they've got Cade Stover, who... I like Brevin Jordan enough.
Who massages bulls to strengthen his hands. Did you see that?
I did not. I don't want to.
I saw it on... Yeah, he has a farm and he'll massage their backs to strengthen his hands. It's weird, but it actually makes sense.
I'm going to give the Texans a B. It's for Houston.
I'm going to give them a C+. I mean, there wasn't really much they could do. They didn't have a 1st-round pick. They got the depth that they needed at certain positions, and that's kind of about it.
Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts.
Donnie Mitchell's a steal.
I love this draft. I'm going to give this an A flat. They needed help on the edge with Latu, and now they're going to go invest in Anthony Richardson, who was great last year, Pittman, and Donnie Mitchell on the same team as a nice receiving core. It's a good draft. It's an A.
Yeah, for me, I gave him a B+. Latu, like you said, Donnie Mitchell is a very good, especially in the 2nd round at pick 20. That was a really good pickup for them.
Moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars to
Brian Thomas. Who did they even get besides Brian Thomas? I really don't know who else they got.
Pick. They also took Mason Smith, who's a nice defensive tackle.
Besides that, not really.
You see, I think I showed you. The reporter asked Brian Thomas's mom, "How far has this family come?"
We came from Baton Rouge,
Louisiana. Like, no, she's asking about like how he came in your struggles, but we came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
She's like, that says enough of where we came from. We came from very poor.
So
that's like if you say you're from Berwick, Pennsylvania. No, I'm kidding.
I like the draft for the Jags because if you go back to our free agency video, I said Gabe Davis was like the worst signing of the draft. That $13 million for Gabe Davis. So they kind of cover up that stain of Brian Thomas and get an LSU receiver who have done pretty good in the NFL recently. If you haven't paid attention,
is LSU wide receiver you?
Alabama still.
What about Ohio State? Are they close?
Maybe in 10 years. What?
Damn. Okay.
Like, what do you mean? Ohio State has the young receivers. Like, they're wide receiver U based on...
Like the past 5 years, probably.
Yeah, like, Ohio State's... But, like, in terms of how they've done in the NFL, Maury Cooper,
Julio
Jones. And same with LSU. LSU's got a lot of young guys. Odell Beckham.
All right, so what'd you give the
Jarvis
Jags?
Landry. I gave the Jags a B.
All right. I gave them a C+. So.
C+, okay. Moving on to Kansas City, the rich get richer.
Yeah, holy shit.
Very rarely do we like have kind of these childish thoughts. From these,
that's a high school.
These childish thoughts from NFL teams. Like, okay, as an 8-year-old.
Yeah, everybody over the offseason was like, if they get Xavier Worthy, he's going to be like the next Tyreek Hill. They said, F it, we ball, and decide to get Xavier Worthy.
As an 8-year-old, you're like, okay, I got strongest arm, I want fastest kid.
Yeah.
Right? That's not really how it works in the NFL, but sometimes it can. And with the Rashee Rice, whatever's going to happen with him, Xavier Worthy, I think if he ran a 4.4, this was enough of a pick at 28. Great route runner. But again, the deep threat, I don't think he's going to be...
Everybody's saying he's only good because of his 40 time. He literally said himself, watch the tape. Like,
he was really, like...
This guy can run routes. It's like
Oklahoma.
Justin Jefferson versus... Was it the Saints? Was it against Marshawn Lattimore? Where he, like, toasted him the whole game? This is what, like, Xavier Worthy was doing.
Maybe. No, I forget.
It was that zig route.
Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Xavier Worthy, really good, a lot of production, especially the Oklahoma game.
Especially since he was sharing targets with Adonai Mitchell as well.
Yeah, so I think that's an A+ pick, of course. And then down the line, I mean, they took Jared Wiley as a tight end, which I think Travis Kelce going to leave in a couple of years. In a Mahomes offense, anybody can succeed when you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They're set up perfectly for a three-peat. And having a young receiver...
Their only problem? The Baltimore...
Yeah, because the Ravens killed them in the playoffs. The thing about having a young receiver is that he's going to get better. And the thing about
Xavier Worthy is already really good. He's with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the thing about playing with Patrick Mahomes is you're going to get better. And I think he is going to be almost strictly, I wouldn't say strictly, but pretty exclusively a short yardage guy.
Yes.
Kind of how
Tyreek.
Kind of how they use Tyreek for a lot of it.
And
like
Miami used him as a deep
goes
threat.
back to the deep threat and it's worked. But Kansas City, short, take it.
Yeah,
and
take the drag
it works
route
both
and
ways.
Use your yardage.
It works both ways. But 4-2-1, quite literally, I don't know if game speed's different, but quite literally right now the fastest player.
Game
in NFL
speed
history.
would make him faster, if anything.
I know, but some guys run
like
faster.
A lot of 40-yard dashes. You think about it, like your adrenaline and everything starts.
Like I don't think he's going to set the record for highest ball carrier speed.
No, not at all. Tyreek's probably getting.
So
DK Metcalf.
It's unfair to say he's the fastest player in the league. He's the fastest 40 ever. So
yeah. For me, the Chiefs also get a B+. Mm-hmm. Well, I give them a B+.
Chargers. I gave the Chiefs an A.
Okay, yeah.
Chargers, love this draft. Love this draft.
Johnson in the 7th is kind of a steal.
Jim Harbaugh gets his guys.
Holy crap! How many wide receiver? 1, 2, 3. Damn.
Jim Harbaugh gets his guys.
Damn.
They took 2 receivers down late with Brendan Rice and Cornelius Johnson. Lad McConkey, great route runner. Junior Colson, I thought was just...
It looks like a mic, the way you could see it in here.
I just thought Junior Colson was such a great player.
To pair him up with Jim Harbaugh, again, that's a little deadly there.
I'm giving A+. I'll give the Chargers an A+ here. I think Joe Alt, like I said, he is a franchise guy. He reminds me of Quentin Nelson coming out of Notre Dame. Just solid enough. Nobody's going to talk about him, and he's just been producing Pro Bowl.
You know that thing on
for
TikTok?
Long.
It's like good, no scandals, no nothing, great production. It's always silent, and it just shows like the picture of like Quentin Nelson, like really good players who don't talk about anything. Joe Alt's going to be that.
Kawhi Leonard,
Yeah,
bunch of guys.
literally doesn't do anything but produce.
One of those guys that you're never going to hear about again once they retire.
Yeah.
Like Tim Duncan has never been seen again. Your turn.
Chargers? For me, the Chargers get a A-.
A-, so you're not as high as I am.
I mean, I like what they did, but like the 3 wide receivers was a little confusing. I mean, I get
it's the 7th round, but
I know,
in the 7th round.
I know.
They
see the value in like Brendan Rice and like Cornelius Johnson. They were like, wow, nobody's picked them. I get it, but
yeah. The Rams. Welcome back to the first round. Los Angeles Rams.
How long was it? 4 years.
20. I think it was Jared Goff. I think it was
7 years. Is crazy.
It might have been 2016.
No, that would be 8 years. That'd be 2016.
It might have been.
I'm just gonna look at it.
But I know if it's not, they had one and then they skipped. Yeah. I know they've had one first-round pick at most since 2016. The Rams. I like the philosophy. Hey, we lost to Aaron Donald. You know what we're gonna do?
First selection in the first round since 2016.
Yeah,
that is insane.
They won a Super Bowl, so
my God.
It's worked out for them so far.
And yeah, they were gonna decline, and they're still winning 8-9 games and making it to the playoffs. It's like
but yeah, you lose out on Aaron Donald. Let's get Jared Verse. Let's get Braden Fisk. Let's get Brennan Jackson. Let's get 3 players. Yeah. 3 on the edge.
Jared Verse, D tackle, edge, D tackle. That is crazy.
Blake Corum was a little interesting in the 3rd round. Yeah, when you have Kyron Williams, which
if they drafted him in the 5th round, he's gonna become a great running back. But they drafted him in the 3rd, so it's useless.
What's that? Oh, the Rams.
Yeah, because they get Puka Nacua in the 5th round, and then they got Kyron Williams in the 5th round.
They took Cameron Kitchens out of Miami. I like this draft a lot. A-.
Who'd they draft in the 5th round? Brennan Jackson. All right, so he's going to be good. Place your bets already. He's going to be good.
Receivers.
and no, it only applies to offensive playmakers.
Kyron Williams was a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, but he's a halfback.
Go on, son. Rams.
Yeah, I gave him a.
The Las Vegas Raiders. I think they took 2 top 25 players in the class. Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers-Johnson. Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers. Norman Powell.
You're just yapping now, fella. Come on.
Tommy Eichenberg, another good pick in the 5th round out of Ohio State.
This is going to be Alex Irby soon. Out of Navy though for quarterback in the 7th round.
Dylan Laub had a good Senior Bowl at Old New Hampshire. I'll give this an A for the Raiders. Look, I understand my initial reaction was, hey, they have Michael.
You just drafted Michael Mayer.
But I took a step back and I said, okay, you can play 2 tight end sets, and Brock Bowers is not your typical tight end. Michael Mayer is an old-fashioned 6th offensive lineman, runs some routes. Brock Bowers ain't going to be blocking for you too often. I mean, he's going to play basically slot receiver. And
just taller and bigger and a little bit slower.
At pick 13, he was the best player in the draft, and that's usually what you go for is best player available, and that's Brock Bowers. It's what'd I say, A-.
So I give him a D.
What? Huh?
I'm kidding. I wanted to do this thing where I'd ramble on for 5 minutes and make my case, and then I'd be like, oh no, I'm lying.
You giving him a D? You're giving him a D?
An A-.
You're giving him the D?
They get a D. This is a terrible pick by them. I mean, if anything, they should have just traded down. I wanted to do that for 5 minutes and then be like, yeah, I'm kidding. They're getting an A. I wanted to see how mad you'd get if I can prolong it for like 10 minutes of me and you arguing about this pick. I won't argue about it because you're on the time frame crunch here. So I'll give them an A-.
Miami Dolphins, I'm giving a bad grade. I'm going to give him a D+. Trop Robinson at 21 is wild. He should not have been a first-round pick. 21 is crazy. Jalen Wright, Tennessee. And then in the 7th round, getting Taj Washington, I think is really good for them. A shifty receiver that I think...
Dude, they got Malik Washington as well. Malik Washington, I feel like is going to be a very underrated wide receiver. But he went to the Dolphins. That guy's literally going to get, like, no playing time. So,
yeah, but I think...
Never mind, he's not going to be good, but...
So, yeah, I'm going to give... Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at this right now.
I'm giving him a C+. That's
I'm giving
him
a D+. Their Chop Robinson's comp is Josh Sweat, and if like that's the guy you're striving to be, I don't know.
He's definitely not that type of pro comp, but at the same time.
Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. May it be biased, it will. I'll give him a straight A.
I'll let you ramble on because I know this is
I'll give him a straight A. Look, they got a top 10 player in the class at 17 with Dallas Turner. What?
I burped in it.
They got a top 10 player in the class with Dallas Turner. They got the best defensive player in the class. And statistically, according to ESPN, that was the biggest steal. He had the lowest percentage. He had a 3% chance to be there at 17. I'm giving them an A. It would be an A+ if they did not trade from 11 to 10, give up a fourth round pick, and then they traded up from 23 to 17,
So they
gave
don't,
up
they
a
don't
third
have
and a fourth.
Yeah, they don't have a third, fourth,
Next
and
year
a
they're
fifth
gonna
next year.
they're gonna have a first, a second, and a
That's
sixth,
it.
which is just you don't have those rotational pieces that you're gonna be able to get.
Depth players.
Kyrie Jackson was fine.
That's like the Suns. That's why they lost. They don't have any depth pieces.
Yeah, how about your Suns? I told you they were gonna win. All-time
I'm
leading.
more than positive I had the Timberwolves winning in 7, but
You had the Suns winning. We did the episode.
all right, we're gonna go back to that then because I'm checking that shit.
All-time leading scorer in NCAA history, Will Reichert. Finally, the Greg Joseph era is over. Thank the Lord. I'm not a big fan
Remember
of
Blair Walsh? Didn't he miss
Shut
against
the
Seattle? Yeah, Blair Walsh.
I'm not a fan of
baby.
drafting kickers. I think you just sign them at a UDFA. I mean, anybody can kick the ball.
Not Greg Joseph. Not Blair Walsh.
Yeah, Greg Joseph was 31st in field goal percentage last year. Get him off the team. He was never good. A flat for Minnesota.
For me, they get a B+.
So bad.
It's 2 off of you. I don't want to hear anything. A little bit of your bias shows. It's an A-. It's
Drake-
an A at best, A-, and your bias just shows through a little bit, and that's why you have them at an A, not an A-.
Everybody's giving them high praise. Even just people in
Yeah,
media.
but they're still going to finish last in the division.
So, Drake May, QB2, my overall number 4 player in the class, goes to number 3. Great pick, of course, for New England. It's not all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, though, for Drake May. There's a lot of footwork that needs to be fixed. But Jalen Polk was a little bit of a reach.
Joe Milton still doesn't make sense to me. I still don't get that.
It's
Like,
a 6th-round pick. Who cares?
I get it, but like,
Hail Marys.
get.
Jaheim Bell as well in the 7th round.
They need to go 90 yards. He was like, how far do you think you can throw at NFL football? He goes, 90 yards. Okay.
How far do you think you can throw a slant route?
Me?
90 yards.
Yeah.
That's Joe Milton.
I was about to say, how far do you think you could throw a wheel, a swing right, 90 yards?
Let's say a guy's running a curl. How far would you throw it?
90 yards.
I mean, I can overthrow Tyreek Hill. Not anybody else can. I can overthrow Tyreek Hill. I don't care if you're running a drag, a slant. That ball going 90 yards, motherfucker. And it's either going to be the most beautiful ball ever,
or it's going to be overthrown by 15 yards.
But when it's the beautiful ball, I'll put that on my highlight reel. It'll look like the greatest of all time.
Dude, like,
he never
Joe
gets
Milton. Joe Milton's downsides is just he's got bad decision making. Like on the field, you could tell he just throws it right at the defense sometimes, and you question, you're like, this guy is he college quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
If you could sharpen up his decision making, he could be a really good quarterback.
All right. What was your grade?
For New England, C+.
Let's pick this up a little bit. We'll spend about 30 seconds on each pick.
All right.
New
You're
Orleans,
the one yibber-yabber,
Felice Falaga, Cooley McKinstry, Spencer Rattler. I give this a B+. I think it's a nice enough for the Saints.
I have him at an A-.
Yeah, it's a good draft. The New York Giants took Malik Neighbors. Then they took Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. Theo Johns, about 5 o'clock, out of Penn State.
It is 4:58.
C. Flat C for the Giants.
B- for me.
Jets, I like the draft. Got another tackle to play alongside Tyron Smith as Kai Becton went to the Eagles, I think.
I didn't even know. I thought he was still on the team.
Nice pick in Braylon Allen.
Dude, Braylon Allen, I feel like.
To complement.
Dude, Jordan Travis versus Aaron Rodgers in minicamp. Gonna be a sight to
Who
see.
can get hurt first? Eagles took 2 corners.
Oh yeah, for me, the Jets are at a B-.
Eagles took 2 corners.
Dude, Eagles
bring Jeremiah Trotter
really
and
good.
his dad back. I'll give the Eagles an A-.
Where is Eagles for me? A as well for me.
Pittsburgh Steelers, I love this draft. I think they got
all this to go 9 and 8.
I think they got
when you draft
5.
2 Wilsons and have another Wilson at quarterback.
I think they got 5 top 70 players in the class. I mean, Troy Fuatnu's great. Zach Frazier at center at West Virginia. Roman Wilson and Peyton Wilson. That's a great draft. I'm giving it A+. I think they got so much depth.
I have them at an A-.
Seahawks. I like Byron Murphy. They need some beef on that defensive line. Besides from that, doesn't really stick out to me. I'll give them a B-.
I have them at an A-.
Ricky Purcell's
That's a
interesting.
reach. What
If
the
they
hell
trade
are
away
you
one of the
saying?
other guys, still, I would take about 8 other receivers before Ricky Purcell at that spot.
Ricky Purcell was even shocked when he definitely was like, whoa.
Whoa!
In the first round?
I didn't even have my draft
I
party
thought you
set
were
up
talking
till
about
tomorrow.
the second round.
I'll give them a C minus.
Yeah, I have him as C plus.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers took Graham Barton in the first
I really-
round.
that's a good pick.
Tyke Smith, Bucky Irving, your guy.
Dude, I'm super high on Bucky Irving. I hope he can produce because wow, I have a $10,000 parlay on him.
Parlay?
Over 15,000 rushing yards in his career.
Should be good odds.
No, I'm kidding.
B plus for the Buccaneers.
I have him as a B minus.
Tennessee, Tavondre Sweat.
Devondre Sweat is a reach, and it's not even funny.
Yeah, he's a lot of off the field issues. We'll see if that can get going. This is a C minus. I'm not a fan.
Where is Tennessee? A D plus.
And finally, the Washington Commanders took Johnny Newton in the second round. Took Jaden Daniels, Mike Sanders still. I'm giving this one an A plus as well.
I have him at a flat A. Dude, Luke McCaffrey over 28,000 receiving yards in his career.
Smacking the over.
I mean, all he needs is 2,000 every season for 14 seasons. I mean,
he's going to break the record 14 times over. That's going to do it for this episode of Talking
he's
About
going to break his
Balls.
own record every year for 14 years.
We'll see you guys next